And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could be with us once again. Also, we welcome those tuning in on Facebook, on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Glad you all could be with us too. Hello to you, Earl. Earl's joining us over there on the YouTube side. Earl says, you have all the Earl, yes, I do. I have the product that matters today. Today, we're talking with Andrew Minott. He's the author of the book, Prove I'm Wrong. Andrew is back with us. We've been having a series talking about his book. Believe me, there's so much in this one book we could not have covered it in one segment here on Amazon Live. So I want to say, if you guys are not following us already on the platform, make sure you guys do hit that follow button either here in this corner or down below. Also, you will see Andrew's book, so make sure you guys do pick it up. And because it is ebook National Month as well as ebook Reading Month, this is the week to be able to get you the ebook of the book as well. Andrew, thank you again for the time. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Look, man, you've become a pro at this point. I joked with you the last time we were on that I think this is the most public speaking you've been doing for quite some time.
All my life. Believe me, I've done it all now. I've done it all.
So Andrew, so let's talk about that because before we get into today's topic, because people know you, of course, because of your work in music. But what has it been like for you now to be literally front and center and sharing some really personal parts of your life in this book, Prove I'm Wrong?
I'm still wrapping my head around it all. It's even though the book has been out now like a month, I'm still grasping with everything. But I'm learning more because the only public speaking I've ever done is like when I held like press conferences from my concerts, and I would have like talk to the press here and there in the media. But like up talking about myself or where people can meet and greet with artists and so on and so forth. But it's always about somebody else. This is the first time I'm actually talking about myself. You know, it's been a different situation now. But it's fine though. I'm getting the hang of it.
Yeah. You've said in our previous conversations, and for those who are watching us on Amazon or other platforms, I do invite you, if you haven't seen the other shows we've done in this series, what we've been doing is Andrew and I have been kind of breaking down some of the segments of his life that he talks about in Prove I'm Wrong. Everything from fatherhood, his life, dealing with his own father. Also, of course, his career in music, what it's been like for him to see, what it's been to succeed there. And also, now today we're going to be talking about emotions, namely rage. In fact, you have a whole chapter in the book, Andrew, talking about your relationship with rage, which is such an interesting thing to look at. But I want to say this, even before we get to that chapter in the book, there are signs that we see through some of the actions that you take that say that rage was something you've kind of been dealing with, actually, it seems like from when you were young. What was it like for you to acknowledge? Because us as guys, we don't always like to talk about our feelings. We don't like to talk about our emotions. What was it like for you to recognize that?
It took a while because even through high school, they used to call me misery. So I was miserable. But I don't know if I was miserable. I was just, I got angry. And mad, but blow up like a one burner gas stove. It's just the fact that it took a while for me. I don't even know, to this day, I don't even know why I grew up so angry. Somebody can say it's basically the lack of my father and everything that came with it. But I was always angry. And even I talked to my uncle that I mentioned in the book. I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. He said, "You were always so angry. When you were so young, you were always so angry for whatever reason. You were just," and I was like, I don't even know. It was just one of those things that I've built up rage within me. It's just one of those things when I was young, I would chase after my siblings with a knife and say, I'm going to kill you. I don't, I got really mad really fast. And it's one of those things.
Did you feel like, because chapter 10 is the chapter, my relationship with rage, Andrew, but again, as I mentioned, even before we get to that, we see signs of that, and some people would call it a temper, right? Some people, that's the way a lot of times growing up, that's what people say, that person has a temper. What I felt like as the reader, and I'm curious as to your thoughts about if this is true or not, is that there were so many things that were held in that when things happen, it calls you to express yourself outward. Do you think that's part of it? That you are a person who seems to hold so much into yourself that when the littlest thing happened, it calls you to explode.
It does. And people would say they keep everything inside and until they just blow up.
Yeah.
And I tend to do that too because I don't talk a lot about like my feelings.
Right.
And I just like hold inside, and like I always say I play chess, not checkers. So nobody can really tell what I'm thinking. I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, I just keep a smile on my face. Okay, all right, I don't say anything. And it just spills over, and it continues on until I get really like the straw that broke the camel's back type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just blow up, because it's the same instance when a lot of people will say that you take out your rage on somebody else because somebody is really getting you angry, and then the closest person to you that comes around, you just blow up on them. And they say it's always never fair to that person when you do stuff like that. So it just tends to be, I've never been a talkative person like that and express myself, express my feelings. So I've always held everything inside until it's like you reach a point of no return type of thing then. And then you just basically explode.
And that I want to read what you say in the book, and we can talk about it more, Andrew. For those who have the print edition of the book, it's found on page number 115. You say this: it was more than just anger. It was white hot sometimes, and it was heavy. That struck me, that word, because I the first thing that came to my mind when I read that line, Andrew, is a burden. And it's a burden, it seems like, that you carried going back to your relationship with your father, your relationship with how people in the community, the boys that took your ball, and you're going to get the ball, even though you were warned about those boys. What you went through in the music business, people doubting you and putting that weight on you. Talk to us about the heaviness of that and what those conversations have been like for you to have with other men about. Because I think a lot of times, especially again, us as men, we're expected to be able to carry a lot. But just like in life, you can have too much on you and it can break you. What was it like for you to realize and to admit the heaviness of what you were feeling?
It was a process because I'm to be honest, I'm still dealing with that at times.
Okay.
To even get it out and say, because it's sometimes it's so hard to describe, because it's a feeling, it's like an emotion. That's why I always say I never make decisions now too high or too low. I always keep an even keel. If I'm angry, I don't make a decision. If I'm happy, I don't make a decision. I wait until everything is like even keel, that I will make sure it's never an emotional decision. And that's what tends to happen a lot when you're angry, when I'm angry and I just really get upset. So even in the point of where I will do things that's probably not smart, and there are different instances in the book when I talk about the things I did, which I could have handled it differently. I could have handled it better, but for some reason though, it's like it's one of those feelings that comes over you, and you like, you just get that, because like they said, a lot of people in prison are good people that make bad decisions.
Right.
And a momentary lapse of insanity. Like, and I always say, don't make a temporary, what they said, don't make a temporary feeling make you make a permanent decision.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things, but it can get really heavy though, because there got to be a way to release it. And music was probably my avenue of releasing a lot of the anger and stress that comes with my life. And that's probably one of the reasons why I gravitate towards music like that.
Andrew, I want to ask you another question about that heaviness. But I want to first say, for those who are just tuning in, you all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I appreciate you guys joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, as well as on LinkedIn. If you guys have any questions or comments for Andrew, feel free to put those in the comment section. I'm going to be monitoring those. We're talking about his book, Prove I'm Wrong, that's on sale right now. Andrew is now, outside of his other accomplishment, he's a best-selling author. His book was a #1 release on Amazon. You all can get the print and the Kindle edition now. We have it highlighted in the carousel on the Amazon Live side. I want to ask you this question, Andrew, as you've been having conversations like this with me and other people. Was part of that heaviness also that you were trying to carry the load of other people?
Yes, because a lot of times when it's an undescribable feeling, in the sense of whether you're angry with somebody or somebody's angry with you, and you tend to like keep that inside. Like me, I internalize a lot of things. I'd rather keep it inside before speaking it and saying it, because once you say it, you can't get it back. And I talk about that in the book too. Once it's set in the universe, you can't take it back. So I'd rather, you know what, maybe if I keep it inside, I can hold it and hold it and hold it. And sometimes that's when it really explodes, because it's not necessarily a good thing to keep everything inside and bottled up. But it's just one of those things. Like with me, all my life, I've been like, I was basically an introvert for most of my life, basically. And even now, I would probably say that too. So I tend to keep things inside and don't really express it for the most part until I get really upset about something.
You said this about your grandmother in that same chapter I referenced earlier, Andrew, on page 115. You said, "My precious grandmother looked at me like I was a madman and said I wasn't going to live to see 19. We didn't have therapy back then, and you didn't want to be labeled a sissy for talking about stuff. So I bottled it up, but clearly not really. What was I bottling up? Why was I so mad about? What was I so mad about? It was before the loud fight with Kathy in the parking lot. It was before the rage that jumped out of me when I was trying to advise those dudes to stop being so flashy and chill out because the feds were watching us. It was even before the disappointment of my father not doing the right thing when we got to America." I think that's the other side of this, Andrew, which is why I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because I think what we try to do is we try to make it about one thing when it really is a series of things that's building up. And that's why I wanted to ask you about that heaviness, because I think having one stone is not so bad. But when you keep piling up and piling up and piling up and not releasing any of that, that's when it becomes an issue. Has that impacted the way you deal with people today, Andrew? Do you feel that same heaviness, or have you found a way now to better release that?
You know, funny you say that. Now I have little tolerance now. Like before, I would just take it in and like you said, pile it up, pile it up, pile it up. Now, once it don't make any sense to me, I'm just shutting it down. I have little tolerance now for nonsense. It reached the point where I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Before I'd be like, okay, I'll go with it and then pile on until I get really mad about something. But I can see, it's like I say I'm playing chess, so I see the whole board. And I see down the road it's not gonna end good. So I say, you know what, I just stop it right away. I say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, no. Because I know where it's headed. And a lot of people that can't see that, and they're like, why are you behaving like that? Why are you doing that? I'm like, no, I'm just not doing that. I'm not gonna do that. And that's what the difference between me now and 20 years, 30 years ago. I would tend to like entertain it, like entertain the foolishness, entertain the nonsense, because I say, you know, I'm being optimistic and see the good in everything. But no, I'm like, once there's a possibility that isn't, I'm not gonna do it, because I know I'm just gonna get angry and get really upset about disappointments. Because even to this day, you get really disappointed about different things that people do and all that. And I can't let my emotion rest on somebody else, what they do, and cause me to get upset or get mad about something and cause me to be enraged. So I kind of just temper that down, and instead of going down that road of disappointment, I kind of stop it before it gets to that point.
Is that also, and this is why I think there's such a connection that I can feel with this particular part of the book, Andrew, because I was that way too. I used to be that same way, and it never turned out well. you know, but I think there's a big lesson here for our audience, and I hope people really get this, especially the guys out there, because what I learned, Andrew, and I'm not saying this was the case for you, so I'm going to ask you the question. I learned that part of my burden was that I was making other people more important than myself. And I think we feel this responsibility to just want to do for others and not take care of us. Did you, looking back, was that part of it too, that you were so busy trying to do for everyone else, to make everyone else happy and proud and to, be everything to them, that you left yourself behind?
100%. Totally, 1,000,000%.
Mm-hmm.
I always do that. I always make sure, and I talk about it in the book, I'm the last to eat, the last to get paid, because I always put everybody else ahead of myself. From my partners, my children, everybody. I'm like, I'll deal with it. I remember doing one event, and I was up from like 5 o'clock in the morning before the event, and I'm up, and this is like, the event starts at like 4, and this is like 2 o'clock, and I haven't eaten anything, and someone bought me some food, and this other guy that worked on one of the bands, he was like, man, he's hungry, and I just gave him my food. I was like, and after I gave him the food, I was like, are you stupid? I said, what are you thinking? I haven't eaten in 12 hours, and I'm like, I gave him, I'm like, and that's what I've done all my life. I've done that. I talk about even the time, the first show I did with Sean Paul, and I remember bringing him food. I didn't eat the whole day. That was like in the night when I bought that plate of food for Sean, and I didn't eat the whole night. I'm like, and I gave it to him. I'm like, I didn't even eat that whole night. I didn't eat anything. I didn't eat till the following morning. And I was like, but I tend to always do that. Put everybody else ahead of myself. And then I was like, but I'm tend to like, I'm stopping that because it never ends good. People tend to be very ungrateful, as you can tell. A lot of people, and they take your kindness for weakness. A lot of people take your kindness for weakness and being very ungrateful. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to look out for myself. But it was a lesson learned, though. It's a lesson learned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's why the title of this book is so appropriate in so many different ways, Andrew, because prove them wrong. Once you start doing that, people expect it of you. And they think that they can always get over on you because they've done it before. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so in this case, it's good to prove them wrong in that too.
Exactly.
You may have done that before, but no, it's a different day now.
I'm not doing it again. No, I'm not doing it again. No, exactly. No.
So I want to kind of peel back, and this was a kind of a serious conversation today, but I want to kind of pull back a little bit, get a little bit lighter, but I think this is important, and I'm so glad that you were willing to talk about this, because I think we need more conversations about this. Again, when I was prepping for today, I've been in a situation. I was telling one of my good friends I had gotten mad at someone for something that was really my fault that I allowed somebody else to do. I had given somebody something and they weren't using it. And I was mad at them for not using what I gave to them, and I got to thinking about, wait a minute, I should be mad at myself because I was the one who gave it to them. I can't control what someone else does with something, you know what I'm saying? But that's the whole thing about why we have to be careful about putting others before ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And because we don't, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. People are not going to be as appreciative as you are for things.
Never.
Whether it's an opportunity, whether it's whatever it may be, they're not going to be. So talk to me about how conversations like this, Andrew, how are you helping to share this with the younger generation? Just tell them the importance of not making this mistake, not holding things in, not getting so heavy that they either break or lash out. How are you being able to use the book that way?
it's whew. Well, my son, my youngest son, Derek, he always said to me, "Yo, you're being too nice. You're being too nice," because he know how I am. He's like, "You're always doing that, and nobody ain't help you. Nobody ain't doing nothing for you, and you're always doing that." And I look back and I said, you know what? And I think back to all the people I've helped, going back 30, 40. I'm like, man, I wrote in the music fraternity. Some form of capacity. And I'm talking from DJ Khaled to Pitbull. All these guys, I knew them when they were like regular people.
Right.
And everyone that come up in this fraternity, I've helped in some way of some form of fashion. But I try now to like tell younger people, because I don't want people to be selfish in the sense of they would never want to help anybody. So it's a thin line in the sense of you gotta gauge everything. You can't bottle everybody up in the same boat. You got you can't say, you know what, I'm not helping anybody because this person screwed me over and all that. You gotta evaluate the situation, but for the most part, you gotta understand how you go into the situation before you start helping somebody. Because you can tell when most people are grateful, but some people just, you know what, I'll get it from him. It don't matter. I'll keep using him. I'll just keep using him. And when you cut it off, they start talking about you. I'm like, well, they're gonna talk about me anyway, so it don't matter at this point, you know?
Yeah.
But it's something that you gotta like gauge it about how to go about explain to younger people, because now the younger generation right now, they all care about the whole social media hype, the money and the glam and the glitter and all that. I was never like that. That didn't matter to me at all. You know, I would take my last dollar and give it to somebody if I felt they needed more than I do. But then a lot of times people is not appreciative of what you do for them. So you tend to like scale it back and all that. But it's something that you got to tell people to evaluate the situation and go at it with a clear head and an open mind. And just go do what you think is right.
Exactly. Such a great point and a great way for us to wrap up for today. Again, everyone, Andrew Minott has been our guest. This time flew by today, Andrew, but it's such a great topic. Again, Prove 'Em Wrong is the book. You guys can get it here on Amazon Live. Andrew and I have one more segment we're going to be doing here on Amazon Live. We're going to be talking about the entire book and the messages. So we definitely want you guys to be able to join us for that. That's happening in 2 weeks here on Amazon Live. We also going to be having another conversation on another platform. We're going to be posting about that on my social media as well. Andrew, let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you?
They can always go on my website, anchorminott.com, and on my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, everything is at Drew Minott. You can find me right there with everything. I post stuff every day in regards to different things that's going on. My website, I have my interviews, the different things I've done, the different people I've helped throughout the whole life, my life story and everything.
All right. And what a life it's been, Andrew. So, Andrew, really enjoyed this, man. Really enjoyed the conversation and looking forward to our next chat together, man.
Thank you, man.
All right. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. Again, make sure you guys get your copy of the book, Prove 'Em Wrong. You guys see it there. Make sure you guys are also staying connected with Andrew on his social media as well as his website as well. And as I mentioned, we have one more segment we're going to be doing together here in a couple weeks. So we'll be posting about that. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb saying thank you all so much for being with us. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.